Why, hello there. It's another Y.A.R.P studies. How are you doing today, Ninja?
I'm hanging in there.
So, it's been a while since we've done one of these, hasn't it?
It has.
So today, with what inspired us this time was with the release of She-Hulk and doing all this stuff, and hearing like stuff with the Metal Gear Solid movie. Just hearing all these fucking writers that just basically don't give a shit. We've decided to talk about what we call disconnected writers.
Yes. Please tell the audience what a disconnected writer is.
A disconnected writer, for how I was describing it for the purposes of this stream, was basically a writer that has almost either no knowledge or almost no passion for the thing they're writing for, to the point that they outright admit that they're straying from the source material almost on purpose. Uh, a good example would be actually most recently She-Hulk. The writers have outright admitted they don't know how to do superhero or law stuff. So they're trying to do as little of that as possible. And it's just like you're writing a superhero show about somebody who's a lawyer. You need to fucking you need to just do the thing. You need to write crime drama basically.
Yeah, I mean it's almost, I mean there would be like memes aplenty if they actually did it, but it's almost like you want to consult like Dick Wolf, and get the guy from Law and Order or something like that, somebody who has experience writing for these kind of stories. And you don't even necessarily have to bring them on as head writer, but for God's sakes, you could at least bring them on as a consultant. If you're going to admit that it's like, okay, I don't have the expertise to do this, it's like, cool, you've acknowledged the problem. That's a good first step. Now, what are you doing to fix the problem? And it's just like you get crickets. It's
which
like,
is
oh,
which is so frustrating because when we were working on the Dark Knight video, I constantly just kept trying to reach out to like experts in because I was working on the Spark Notes. I was like, I wanted for the Spark Notes to be like, all right, would a cop would they go into the cell with the uh, fat man of mass destruction, or would they actually get him out of the cell to work on him? And I unfortunately never heard anybody back. But the point is I wanted to do my research because that's the point when you're making these projects.
you wanted to try,
Mm-hmm.
but trying is the big gay.
God forbid these professional writers actually go to the effort of the effort that's expected when you are paid that much.
Well, and oddly enough, in a lot of these situations, the writers actually almost wore it like a badge of honor. Like I remember when they were doing a lot of the interviews for the what was it, the High Republic series for Star Wars, and like
Yeah,
the basically the writer was like, I have never seen or read or had any exposure to Star Wars, and they said that like it was a good thing.
and just every fiber of my being just went. Then why are you writing a Star Wars thing?
Yeah, it's like, but then why have you been tapped to write for Star Wars? Because you clearly know nothing about Star Wars. And that's kind of what we're talking about is, and obviously like anything else, there's going to be varying degrees of severity. You have some people who are disconnected and maybe they've only read the source material once, or maybe they're just comfortable with straying a little bit from it, but they're at least familiar with it. And then you have the more egregious ones like those Star Wars authors I just mentioned. I mean, but then you have some that it feels like they genuinely hate the source material. Like, for example, the people that did The Witcher or the people that did Halo. Those both of those television shows were terrible because they just it's like they wanted to sell the idea based on this currently established, very financially successful property. But then when it actually comes to telling the story, they don't want to have anything to do with that property. They want to tear it down in every way, shape, and form. And then when people start to criticize them for making that really incredibly stupid decision, we're the bad guys. It's our fault. And what it really boils down to is just nobody wants to be held accountable. Because I get it. Writing and putting yourself out there like that, it's scary business. I mean, just letting somebody read my novel, even though it's unfinished, sharing that part of myself with somebody is terrifying. I don't do it with just anybody, because I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know what they're going to say. And people are always like, "Well, but if you don't want people to read it, then how are you ever going to get published?" And it's like, I mean, it's different, you know, but the people that I'm letting read it are also people that I know in real life. So these are people that I see or talk to on a regular basis.
Right.
And so it's like if they tell me, "Oh, it's shit," and I hated it, it's like, "Oh, well now I have to see and deal with this person all the time." And they hated it.
Whereas, at the very least, if you just gave it to some rando and they
Yeah,
just.
if I gave it to some random like that I just ran into like the airport or the mall, it's like I don't really care what their thoughts are because I'm never gonna see them again. I'm never gonna talk to them again. It's fine. But I realize that, obviously once you cross that bridge into publishing, it's like you're going to have people read it no matter what. It's going to happen. And that's fine. But it can still be scary. It can still give you anxiety and make you feel very nervous. Because it's like, man, this thing that I've spent all this time and energy and, what are they going to think of it? Maybe they'll think it's stupid. Maybe they'll think it's ridiculous. Or maybe they'll be really hypercritical and they'll say I need to basically fix everything, all the different parts of it. And there's
And,
not an easy answer or an easy solution for that kind of stuff.
and when it comes to a lot of this, I do question who actually is the most at fault. Of course, one of the biggest factors being the studio. But how how much blame would you be willing to assign the writer themselves? Because it
Um,
there's always some level of disconnect that even we ourselves don't know. For all we know, maybe the She-Hulk writers wanted to talk to a lawyer or somebody that would for to get that kind of insight, but they just never had the time.
it is a possibility that I can't rule out for certain. However, based on what we have seen in even just the very first episode, it seems pretty clear what their agenda was.
Mm-hmm.
They're very focused on pushing ideology. They don't seem to really care about telling a good story. And I think when you have a writer who is more interested in, preaching at their audience than actually entertaining them, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. Now, as far as whether it's better to blame the writer or it's better
Uh oh.
is the one who created it. What?
You cut out for a second. I was just sitting in silence there for
Oh,
like a good 10 seconds,
um,
but just bring it back to the beginning of the
yeah.
sentence.
So what I was saying is, when it comes to, well, do you blame the writer or do you blame the studio? It kind of has that same sort of feeling as like, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because the writer is the one who ultimately is responsible for creating it. However, the studio would have finished. You have to show that finished product to the higher ups, the CEO, the executive, whoever's, basically signing off on it. And so, in theory, they could look at you and be like, it's shit, throw it all in the garbage and start over. However, I think that doesn't happen as much as it did like when movies were still young because of things like they're already locked into so many different things. Like the marketing budget has already been spent, advertising and tie-in promotions and all these other things that didn't really used to exist back then.
Yeah, because now, especially with things like the MCU, it's a massive industry to the point they're announcing their movies years ahead of time.
Right, which means they might have like a Denny's tie-in already planned for like spring of 2024. And it's like we're not even in winter of 2023. It's like, but that's just it. You have so many different moving pieces that in a weird way, the executives and the CEO don't even have the freedom to be like, we have to shit can it, which is, I think, why, perfect example, why everybody was so freaked out about the whole Batgirl thing at WB.
Because they saw the writing on the wall, and it was like somebody decided to finally do something about it.
Well, yeah, Zaslav came in and was like, I don't care that we've spent $90 million on it. I'm not wasting another penny on it. He didn't want to dump money into the marketing budget. He didn't want to dump any more than what he already had in it. So he's like, we are shelving it indefinitely, cutting our losses, and throwing it as a tax write off.
Yeah, thank God for them at least that it still could uh, be qualified for tax write-off status,
Well,
because
but
Flash couldn't.
that's why it's so important for those decisions to get made in a timely manner. It off, but only if they do it within like the same calendar year that it's been shot, I think, or something like that. Like there is a limited window of opportunity for them to do that. If they wait too long, it's just a loss. They're just out. And that, like you said, with the Flash, they're I'm pretty sure at this point everything is already done. Like it's
Yeah,
already shot. Everything is already done and sold. So at this point, they are past the point of no return.
yeah, and I'm surprised. Like, so then you just get into all the stuff that Ezra's doing, and it's just like, you sure you guys don't want to cancel that just anyway?
Oh, no, they'll probably try their best to spin it that, oh, he's in recovery and he's getting the help he needs and isn't that great. But I guarantee you, behind the scenes, he's done. Like the movie could do gangbusters and be the most successful movie that WB has ever put out. They would still not let him back for a sequel. He is too much of a risk. He's done too much damage to the DCEU and overall just their reputation.
Well, he
Like
needs to
he's
be in
gone.
jail. the man,
I
the man
mean,
keeps actively assaulting people that are kind of just existing.
yeah, it's a very strange set of circumstances. Not what we're here to talk about this evening, but I
Right.
agree it is a weird set of affairs for sure. Um, what are some other examples you can think of this sort of phenomenon and why it creates problems for for the writing process?
So the thing that I think of the most is probably like, you brought up The Witcher earlier. How pretty much the main writer said that she say that she outright never read the books. And as far as we're ever concerned with behind the scenes stuff, Henry is literally the only person. He'll like pull out one of the books and be like, "Oh yeah, this is like from this page," and
Oh yeah,
they'll
he
just
he
pat him on the
knows the
head and then just
character like
go.
inside and out.
They'll just pat him on the head, give him a cookie, and tell him to get back to work. And the thing is in all reality, we should be rewarding that kind of stuff. We should be rewarding the actors for doing their research. And it's weird when an actor is doing more research than a professional writer. I think, and it honestly boils down to with a lot of things of why the fuck are you even touching this then? Why is anyone letting you near it? Uh
Well, I mean, a large part of it seems to be that they're almost kind of like they don't care about the source material because honestly, they don't care about that story at all. What they really care about is using this existing IP, which comes with a built-in fan base, to push their story, their narrative. It's the story that they want to tell, which in most cases is some either political or ideological nonsense that has little or nothing to do with the original source material whatsoever.
yeah, it's it's why they even keep dragging characters through the mud just to make it happen. Kenobi's a great example. They keep basically saying, "Oh, Kenobi's just a shit person." Here's this cool Rhea, whatever the fuck her name is. Like, I think it's Reva. Uh, here's you'll like her, right? She's cool and badass and just as evil as Darth Vader because she wants to kill him. And it's like, what the fuck? No, why are you doing this?
And that's the other thing as well is that this problem, this sort of disconnect, tends to cascade through multiple parts of the production. Because, like you just pointed out, not only are they basically shitting all over the source material, but in order to bring their new characters up and try to be like, look at how amazing they are, the quickest, pronounced laziest way of doing this for most writers these days is to take the existing character from the source material and just absolutely shit all over them. And it's
Which
like, look,
only
my
pisses off
character is so
fans.
much better than your character. It's like, oh, you like the Hulk? Well, then you'll definitely like She Hulk because she's so much better than him in every way.
She can control her anger so well that when she does transform by accident, she instantly turns right back. She's in that much control, and it's like, you don't get it, do you?
They really don't. No, scenes like that come across as incredibly tone deaf. Because it's like you have this woman who I get it. I mean, she's identified as a woman like her entire life, but that's the whole reason why Bruce is trying to train her is it's like you're not just a woman anymore. You're a Hulk. Like that kind of supersedes everything that you've had to deal with up to this point. But neither here nor there. You have this woman who is upset that she gets catcalled and mansplained to. And here she is mansplaining to the Hulk how she's better than him and his anger is insignificant compared to hers. And it's like, "Oh, you mean Bruce Banner, the Hulk, a character that is literally defined by his rage and how well he can control it because if he doesn't people die? That's who you're talking to?"
The character that was so down and depressed that he tried to fucking kill himself.
I guarantee you most of the writers of this show don't even know that. Like they probably have no idea that whole that line even exists in the MCU.
That they, oh my god, you're probably right that they don't even know that I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spat it out. Which, just, another great example of the disconnected writing. They just won't watch the previous thing. Remember how with Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi never watched WandaVision.
Nope. And that's just and it's like you cannot understand. I mean, really truly understand that movie if you haven't seen WandaVision.
Yeah, it's crucial
It's
reading.
confusing as fuck if you have seen WandaVision. Because at the end of WandaVision, like Wanda is basically praised as being a good guy. Like they'll never know what you sacrificed for her. Like the way it wraps up is like maybe she's been redeemed? Question mark. But then Multiverse of Madness is like, nope, she's a horrible piece of shit. But just kidding, kind of, because we still think she's the good guy, and you should be sad that she's sad. It's like I don't care that she's sad. I don't care that her fucking vibrator died and her Tamagotchis got deleted.
Because yeah, and I saw on Instagram they were advertising like, oh, it's been 1 year since WandaVision dropped, and I felt so sad because they weren't advertising it by showing the moments outside. They were showing the moments that were reminders of things like I Love Lucy, and I thought back to all the potential that the show had in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, the first three episodes were fantastic. I was fully on board for the first three episodes.
I think we all were.
And then after that, it just went off a fucking cliff. Which I will say is more than most of the other shows got, because most of the other shows, like by the end of episode one, we were like, oh, this is garbage. Like, this is trash. But WandaVision at least had us going for the first three.
Did we
And
with Falcon Winter Soldier? Did we even give it? We were we at the first
we
episode before?
watched it all, but the first episode we were like, this is going to be an absolute train wreck. Like we knew just there was so much like ridiculous over the top action shit like with the helicopters and
Oh
Red Wing and
fuck,
all that we were like,
fuck me! My brain has tried to scrub that from my memory.
yeah, no, we knew it was going to be a train wreck. Now what we didn't know in episode one was that it was going to be a train wreck for mostly like political and ideological reasons that we hadn't really come up on yet, but it didn't take long for us to get to that point. And then it was just like, oh, now we see the show's hand. We know exactly what they're doing. That sucks.
And it doesn't seem to help that for the most part, because the MCU is the most guilty of this disconnection for the most part.
I wouldn't even necessarily say it's the most guilty. I would just say it's one of the most like high profile examples of it
Yeah,
because the MCU is just everywhere.
that and the directors and writers are almost openly stating when they don't talk to each other. Because
Yeah, it's weird because like the directors kind of used to work together to like, make sure all their stuff continuity wise track like in the first, I would say at least the first two phases for sure.
or they'd outright bring in the director to help them, like with the fact that they brought James Gunn in for the Guardian scenes in Infinity War.
Yeah, that is true.
But then we have Taika Waititi, who who's going to be directing like a Star Wars movie, directing and probably writing it, and he forgot that Natalie Portman was in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, he was trying to be a big shot and get in her pants and be like, "Hey, baby, you want to be in a Star Wars movie? I'll make your career." It's like
And
I was in them.
I was in three of them. I'm Luke Skywalker's mom. And it's just like why we keep rewarding this type of behavior when we should be giving more work to people like the Daniels. I believe that was their names. The people who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once. Those guys should be getting a lot of work now.
You would think, yeah, they should be getting all the fucking projects and stuff and just getting all the money, but unfortunately, it just doesn't usually work like that. Because unfortunately, even though that was probably the best movie that came out this year, there's still a fuck ton of people that haven't seen it and honestly haven't even ever heard of it.
Yeah,
Like I I've told people about it and they're like, "What movie are you talking about?" Like I've never heard of that movie. And it's like, "Yeah, it was phenomenal. Like you should see it."
That, or the in the weirdest instance that I've seen, if they'll talk about it, they'll talk about it for the oddest reason, such as, did you really care about the martial arts in Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I mean, that seems like an odd thing to criticize, I guess, but yeah, I thought most of the fight scenes were actually pretty fucking good.
I thought they were all right, but that's kind of like, the more I would think about the movie, I honestly just I was never really focused on the fight. By the time the ending was happening, I was just completely invested into the emotional side of it. So when somebody said they were only there for the fights, I was just like, "Oh,
I would,
okay."
but see, I'm not a believer of that anyway. Like, I don't go into any movie being like, "Oh, I'm just here for the fights." That's dumb as fuck. Like, if you're just there for the fights,
Watch them on YouTube.
I don't know. Yeah, go watch them on YouTube, or not even that. Just don't watch movies. Like, literally, just watch people fighting. Like, go watch a sport, or go watch people, practicing martial arts. Like, if you're just there for the fights, why even bother with the fucking story? But if you're somebody who is there for the overall experience, you're there for the story, you're there for the investment, you're there for the fight, like you're there for all of it, then
Mm-hmm.
that's different. But I don't understand people that are like, "Oh, I just want to watch this for the fights." That's stupid.
Yeah,
Especially with a
it
movie
felt
like
really
that
odd,
that has so much to say, like about literally everything, like
including fucking suicide.
about what it means to be a human, what it means to exist. Like, god damn, like, there's so much in that movie, and the character writing is so good. But my bad, I forgot. I'm not Asian or a woman, so I can't clearly identify with these people or these characters. My bad.
That, or we're too critical.
Yeah, we're too critical. Sorry. I just I like things to be good, and I'm sorry if people think that's a high fucking bar. Um,
What's really weird is it's not, like, it's
well, I was actually talking to this with somebody about this the other day, right?
okay.
I was telling him like, look, even though I can admit that I have a pretty jaded, heart, a pretty jaded attitude towards, most things in general. At the end of the day, I still want movies, games, these experiences. I want them to make me laugh or cry or feel something. Like I'm not going to the cinema or spending this time and money to feel nothing. That's not what I want. And that's why I get so frustrated when people are like, "Oh, well, you just care about the logic and the writing consistency. You don't care about the emotion." It's like, no, I really care about the emotion a lot. And that's why I want these things to be good, because if they're good, those emotional payoffs tend to be really strong and they stick with you for years and years, and you'll watch it, again and again. Whereas a lot of the stuff that's coming out now, it's like you watch it once, and even if you come away thinking, well, that was okay, you're still probably never going to watch it again. Why is that? Why is it that we can rewatch movies from decades ago time and time and time again and not get sick and tired of it? But this stuff is all just like sludge. We've seen it, we're done with it, we don't want to have anything else to do with it.
I mean, yeah, audience reception, especially once again to Marvel, it really is just, or no, just anything Disney has owned. Don't question product, just consume and then move on to next product.
I mean, it didn't used to be that way.
It didn't used to be that way at all. And the point I was gonna quickly make was, in terms, like, I sometimes I don't. It's not that I don't believe that good writing isn't hard. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Nobody is one of the is a It's a very simple action movie, but it gets its points across really great because it focused on character, and and it told a compelling story, and it was simple as shit.
Well, yeah, but
This
simple's bad, right? That's bad.
anyone who says that has never heard "keep it simple, stupid." One of the one of the biggest tips when either writing or playing an instrument or just doing anything, keeping it simple, it it allows you to almost it allows it to come naturally.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, because simply
It's one of
I
those things that's hard to explain because that
yeah,
defeats the whole point of the expression. Like
right.
literally, it is literally one of those things that gets applied to fucking everything.
Mhm.
Oh, you're struggling to do this, just keep it simple, stupid. It's like, but explaining how to actually like step by step keep it simple is very hard. It's like, oh, you're trying to do this thing, just don't try so hard. It's like that's not really good advice when you think about it.
Well,
But at the
it's not
same
even
time, it works.
a trying type deal. I like cuz I've always whenever I do like my writing exercises, when I get too much into the weeds, I sometimes have to pull back and go, how much detail am I going into that's almost needless and just doesn't even need to actually be explored and instead could move on to the next thing.
Well, but the problem is there's so many authors that do that shit like all the fucking time, and it's annoying because it's almost like, oh, well, you have to do it the same way or you're doing it wrong. Um, like love Lord of the Rings, but man, Tolkien would go on for like pages with either descriptions or like a song or a poem that had very little to do with the story. It was
Yeah,
totally superfluous. It didn't need to be there, but for whatever reason, he wanted it there. And so that's what he did. It was there. And it's just like, man, most people would say, yeah, that's too much. You should dial that back. But then there are some people who are like, man, I love that. Those are my favorite parts of the story. Like, don't ever, take that away. And that's just it. It's like everybody's kind of got their own line for what they consider to be enough or not enough.
right. And I think that's
Which is,
why the greater care was taken to think like with Lord of the Rings, the greatest care was taken towards adapting that. Peter Jackson worked really hard to bring Tolkien's world to life, and yeah, some things were sacrificed. Certain characters didn't show up, like Tom Bombadil, but I would argue that's for the better. Tom Bombadil essentially takes all the tension out of the ring because he just puts it on and nothing happens.
yeah, I would agree with that. It's, but then it's like you have Peter Jackson did great with the Lord of the Rings, but then like the Hobbit stuff was kind of so even he is not beyond fucking shit up.
Yeah, and then that also gets then that starts up the great old argument of studio interference because they're the ones that pushed for the love triangle and it being three movies. But at the same time, even when you're forced to do something, you can still you can still write gold from it because like writing constraints aren't like the end all be all like devil in the closet. In fact, they
No,
encourage
and
creativity.
yeah, in a lot of cases, it's actually better to kind of rein in your directors and not just have it be their autistic vision. It's like by putting those sorts of guidelines in place, you force them to be more creative, and to figure out. It gives them a problem to solve. Whereas, like, if you give them too big of a sandbox to play in, it's almost like they have so many different shiny ideas or toys that they want to play with that they never really settle on one and truly develop it. So then it's like they've got all of these half-baked ideas and they just go, well, we need to get something out there.
it's really sad in all reality.
It's a little sad.
Because especially when you see these writers or directors, you know they've made such great works, but then you almost wonder, like, was it a one-time thing only? Like Ridley Scott made fucking Gladiator. He also made Alien Covenant.
I mean, everybody's gonna have their highs and everyone's gonna have their lows, but yeah, that one was pretty fucking disappointing, unfortunately.
Well, it's weird how he had very little in between. Like, have you? Did you ever see his Robin Hood movie?
Was that the Kevin Costner one or the one with the
Russell Crowe.
kid from? Oh no, I don't think so.
It was fine. It was just Ridley Scott going, I just want to try to make Gladiator again, but with Robin Hood.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see where that wouldn't work for a lot of people.
And one of the problems because when we were talking about this, of the making of this episode, we brought up how I asked, like, from your perspective, do you think Ryan Johnson outright hated Star Wars when he wrote The Last Jedi? And
I don't necessarily think that he hated Star Wars, but what I do think is that his focus wasn't on Star Wars. And by that I mean he was more interested in people talking about his film for the wrong reasons. Like his whole philosophy when it comes to filmmaking is to be divisive. He believes if he can divide the fan base, then he has succeeded in his movie. Because that's more important to him than telling a good, satisfying story, I guess. So I don't necessarily think that he hated Star Wars, but I do think that he was more focused on, subverting everyone's expectations and, basically, short version, kind of pissing everybody off. Like he was trying to do that.
is that almost better than, as you later brought up, like better than JJ autistically treating characters not necessarily as people but as just like almost like chess pieces to be put onto the board?
Um, I don't necessarily know if I would say it's better. It kind of depends on the context specifically. I mean, they're both shitty in different ways. But as far as like which one is worse, I mean, that comes down to, you know, what are the implications of the decisions they've made? How far do those cascading effects go? How much damage do they do to the existing lore or to the existing characters? And for example, with Star Wars, we know they did a shit ton of damage. I mean, the hyperspace kamikaze alone, damaged so many other films and media because it's like, oh, we could have been doing this the whole fucking time.
Yeah, and then further future writers can't decide whether or not it's possible or not, because we have JJ who wrote, oh, that's a 1 in a million thing, and then I think later in his movie showed the after effects of a holdo maneuver. um but then a lot of these new books are trying to explain, no, this is possible.
Well, but part of that is what happens when you just literally let this kind of stuff get away from you a bit because, every like JJ invented it, or Ryan, I guess, invented it, made it his own. And then all of these other authors and writers are wanting to like come in and put their spin on it. But they also think like, oh, look, this was so cool in this movie. When this happened, people are still talking about it, and they don't realize it's like, yeah, people are talking about it negatively. A lot of people out there fucking hate it. They think it's really stupid.
Yeah, they think it's one of the most damning things to that's ever been done to Star Wars.
Yep. But these
And
new writers come in and they feel like they have to up the stakes every single time. And what's the quickest way to up the stakes? It's like, we'll just take whatever we did last time and multiply it.
or just make it bigger.
Yep. That'll do it, right?
Yeah, it's like with the upgrade from the Predator or the I think it was called the T-3000 in Terminator Genesis. It's bigger and badderer.
I don't think I ever actually watched that one.
Max hasn't seen it either. If if we're all willing to
No.
torture
No,
ourselves,
no, we're not. Nope, I'm fucking good. Thanks, though.
as you just see Max and I fall into some swords, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna join them on that.
no, I'm pretty good. I don't need that to like I saw the one with Christian Bale.
Yo,
There was
Salvation,
yeah, but there was that one that kind of came between that and there was like a TV show and then there was Dark Fate, I think.
the Sarah Connor Chronicles, where Lena Headey was Sarah Connor. She didn't do a bad job.
Yeah, I didn't watch that and I didn't watch that the movie which I'm assuming was Genesis. I didn't watch that one
Yeah.
because at that point I was kind of already like we've already fucked this up, you know?
Oh yeah. And not to mention, anytime they make a sequel to Terminator 2, they have to explain like why Terminator 2's ending no longer matters, and that's always, no matter how many times you remove that piece of glass, it's always gonna hurt. Because Terminator 2's ending was pretty damn definitive. They stopped Judgment Day.
No, but we can't have that because that was the central conflict of the whole story.
Yeah, we can't just let a series end.
No,
God,
not when there's money to be made.
yeah, God forbid when a story has been told, like, we just simply just move on to the next thing to just tell a whole new story. No, we can't do that.
But see, that's one of the reasons why I kind of prefer like Eastern storytelling and anime is because they do what America cannot. You know, they know when a story is over and done. Like there are anime that go on for like 30 bajillion fucking seasons and they're still going. But there are also anime that have like one season and they're done and that's it. And they
Yeah,
told their complete story.
Dragon Ball Super versus Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop's only one season and a movie, I think.
And it's just a matter of like, I'm not going to I appreciate it when they know how to let a story end and move on to something else, if that's what needs to happen. I'm not a big fan of stuff that just keeps on going and keeps on going until they've got every last bit of it that they can. Because then it's like Game of Thrones is an example here. It's like, no matter how good those first few seasons were, with that finale season being so bad, it's tainted now. Nobody wants to go back and rewatch it. I've thought about it. I was like, oh, I can go back and rewatch the first 4 or 5 seasons. And if I really wanted to, I could. And I would probably even enjoy myself. But in the back of my mind, I would know that eventually I have to stop that story before it's completed. And I shouldn't have to do that. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Where that show just ended terribly and everybody stopped talking about it.
Not only did it just end, it not only did it taint the show itself, it's tainted the brand. Are we like neither of us are gonna watch House of the Dragon? I ain't fucking
No.
interested.
No. I'm gonna no if I watch it at all, I'm gonna wait until the entire thing comes out. And I'm gonna wait and I need to hear from somebody that I genuinely trust that it's worth the investment of time. Because so far, everything I've heard about episode one, it ain't there.
I caught River watching the episode, and it was right at the screen, like the moment where uh, somebody called it the Song of Ice and Fire, and I just went, "What? What is
But
this
get
hot
it?
garbage?"
They said the thing. They said the line that people. It's funny too because the way they marketed Game of Thrones, a lot of people don't even. If you say a Song of Ice and Fire, they don't even know what to do with that information. You know what I mean?
It
They're
was.
like, "Oh, what is that?"
I was going to say it's even more cringe when they because in season 8 they just did it so they could suck up some Tolkien points. The fact that Sam handed it to Tyrion, it's like, oh, it's a collection of all of Bram's stories. We're calling it the Song of Ice and Fire. It's just like, oh, stop.
Yeah, it was not the most satisfying ending. I mean, you had a show that was essentially, the biggest thing on the planet. Everybody was talking about this show. Even the people who weren't watching it were talking about it because they were talking about like, oh yeah, I've never seen an episode. And wearing that's like some kind of badge of honor. I mean, hell, fuck, in hindsight, they might have been right. But
Yeah, I was both sides of that, considering I, since my viewing history is patchy at best. I've
you
seen
just
both.
need to watch things to completion. I don't understand what your issue is.
What do you mean? I'm gonna become the best Peaky Blinders fan, and when somebody goes, "Oh yeah, you watching the newest season?" I'm gonna look them dead in the eye and go, "I've never seen a single fucking episode."
Not a goddamn one.
And they're just gonna I'm gonna watch the hope just drain from their eyes as I like to imagine I beat them in like a Peaky Blinders trivia quiz, like at like a bar or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. Um, and it just you would think, right, that people writing is one of those things that, at least for me, and granted, I'm not professional, I don't get paid for it, but you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to give a shit, or it's gonna show. Like, you can't hide that. And I think that's part of what they seem to be struggling with because it's like the writers are trying to hide it, but when they give these scripts to the actors, it's like it all comes through. They can tell you don't give a shit. Because if you did, you wouldn't have them saying this thing or acting like this or just generally being like if your whole goal, right, is you're some kind of I don't even know what wave we're on now, third, fourth, fifth wave feminist, whatever the fucking term is. Why would you go out of your way to make your female lead massively unlikable?
Oh yeah,
That
She-Hulk's just a
seems
bitch.
that seems really counterintuitive because if you're feminist, the idea is you want people to like be pro women, but by making your character a massive cunt to where even the other characters in the show don't like her, that's not going to make me like her. I'm not going to root for her. I'm rooting for the things, to eat her. It's like, oh, let's put her with something else. Just get rid of her. I don't care. I don't want anything to do with these characters.
Yeah, would you rather deal with Wanda Maximoff who just wants to murder the entire multiverse just to see children that aren't even hers, Or would you rather see a Doctor Strange learn a lesson in humility and learning, like, just learning magic and opening up his mind's eye? Because I know which Doctor Strange movie I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch one. I'm not gonna watch Multiverse of Madness.
Well, and it's just, I mean, when you have me like actively rooting against the main character, you fucked up. You absolutely fucked up. And there are ways to write protagonists in an unlikable way and still have people sympathize with them or, you know, think that they're really cool. But there's a reason that it's kind of a joke in the Rick and Morty fandom that it's like if Rick is your favorite character or you look up to him or idolize him or emulate him, you missed the fucking point of the story.
Yeah, because he's an awful person in all
Yeah, he's a
reality.
piece of shit. And it's like if you look up to him or think that's amazing, it's like you missed the goddamn point. Hard.
Yeah, one of the moments in season 3, like the iconic Pickle Rick episode, in all reality, when they're done and they're leaving the therapy session and Rick transforms back, you the it acknowledges sort of from Summer and Morty's perspective that they need it because Rick and Beth just immediately dismissed everything she said, and they just want to go to Shuni's.
Yeah. Yeah, the therapy session was not successful.
Yeah, and the kids who desperately need it want to go back. And I mentioned this a lot in my solo video that I haven't released yet. It's about characters that need to do their jobs, and part of that I bring up is with The Witcher. We can't just kind of get to know Geralt and all that kind of stuff. We almost need to immediately get the plot with Ciri going. Just go, 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 go. It doesn't matter if we're telling a super nonlinear story that no one can keep track of because we're not doing a damn thing to help the audience. Or at best, we're using a throwaway line.
Yeah, that was really fucking weird.
And I
Like
had
even as somebody who had read all the books, I was, like I had family that was literally looking at me knowing that I had read the books, being like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Fuck if I know. Like I've got nothing."
yeah, you and me are huge Witcher fans, and we both just didn't know what the fuck was happening. Because my experience was the same as yours. I had friends that only played The Witcher 3, and they're looking at me. It's like, so what's going on, Why? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Why are we telling Ciri's story? She's not like if like yeah, it's adaptation argument, but she wouldn't even be born yet when we're telling the story of Blaviken, and then only through scenes with Yennefer do we really find out that it turns out they're just telling the story out of order. Because that's how long it took me to realize that. The episode with Foltest, where where it cuts to Yennefer at that dance, and we see Foltest as a kid, and it's just like, oh my god, this is back in time. This is the past. We've time traveled.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird. Um, but it's that disconnect, It's that they don't care about the source material. They're not writing this because they are doing it for the fans or anything like that. There's no sort of bigger purpose. Like they're just doing it for the paycheck or to push their own message that, you know, the message may not have anything at all. to do with the source material.
Yeah, and it's really disappointing in all reality because they're gonna push with Siri. They're because I didn't even watch season two. They're probably gonna push. So it's like, oh, Siri, you're so great, and they're not gonna tackle it from how the books did it. And it was that, oh, you're special because of your blood, and then it's all about like Siri learning to become more of an individual and not just basically the holder of the elder blood.
Yeah.
They're just gonna be like, oh yeah, no, I'm just that great. Deal with it. And it's like, no, please, please don't. Like the reason why I loved your, the reason I love Siri as a character is just not there anymore. And I hope with what Henry Cavill has kind of said, or at the very least, if the hope that the rumors are true, that production for season three is being halted because Henry Cavill wants to really course correct and make things more loyal to the books. And we
I
had,
mean, I think he should. I think it would be good if he did. Um, and I think he's got the kind of star power where he has the ability to do that. Because what are they going to do? Fucking recast him? They'd be shooting themselves in the foot.
yeah, because most of the ladies only turned on the show because of Henry Cavill.
Well, yeah, and he's been a fan cast for a long time. So it's like, you've got the casting down, and he clearly cares about the source material and he cares about the character and he's done the research. So it's like, dude, you should be fucking listening to him when he tells you, like, hey, this isn't something that should happen or this wouldn't happen because of this reason. It's like you should be listening to what he is saying.
Yeah, and
Just
when
make a story accurate to the books, and you will sell.
yeah, and it gets really weird when even uh they always made it a joke when advertising for season one when Henry would just be with his other cast members and he'd be like, "Oh man, this was really fun and getting to see all the progression with the characters and seeing all the chapters like being put onto the page." And you got like his co-hosts just looking at him going like, "Oh, nerd." And it's just like, "No, he's doing a good job. He's doing what you all should be doing, which is being excited for the thing you're working on cuz isn't this all your dream job?" Like when he got casted as like, do you know how excited it made me as a Warhammer 40K fan when he was talking about how like a chandelier looked like a Blackstone fortress because he's a fucking nerd. And the idea of just now being a nerd supposedly means something when being at the top of the Hollywood food chain. But then they're
Which is
like,
weird because I thought we were past this as like a culture because so many of the number one most popular things right now are nerd things.
yeah,
Like being a nerd is a lot more mainstream than it used to be, so it feels odd that we're still kind of playing into those stereotypes of like, oh, you're just a nerd.
when it's like if we were sitting next to Henry, we'd be like, fuck yeah, this is amazing. You're Geralt.
Yeah, but we're just nerds. What do we know?
We're just we've got no street cred. We've only we only understand the basics of storytelling, and we often talk about the stuff and like how we're doing right now.
It's weird.
Yeah,
It's disappointing.
it you yeah
Doesn't
yeah
make a lot of sense to me, but again, I'm not somebody that's being paid to make it make sense. So
Well, it's just like, and the fact that for the even and even to bring it back to Marvel, it's just that most people just eat this. Yeah, both Marvel and Witcher, people just keep eating this shit up. I had someone at work today tell me to my face that they thought The Witcher was one of the best well written stories that they've seen so far. And when I started to break it down, they were just like, you're taking all the fun out of it. You're being so negative." And it's just like, I'm being negative towards a thing that's bad. When things are bad, they deserve to be criticized. They deserve to be torn the fuck apart. When something's good, it deserves praise. But that's once in a blue fucking moon. And more than likely doesn't, like as you said earlier, doesn't even come from us. Squid Game came out of Korea. And despite its piss poor ending, at least for season 1, it had one of the most emotional episodes that we saw with episode 6.
I mean, yeah, it had more tisms than just the ending, but yes, there are moments in that show, super high highs and super low lows. But I mean, that's the problem. But there's other things that have come out of South Korea as well that have been fucking phenomenal. Like a lot of good entertainment is coming out of places like South Korea and Japan now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of okay with that. Like, because it's new, it's different, it's stuff that hasn't been done to death. And even if they do something that has, like, even when they do zombies, right? It's like that's been done a shitload, especially over here in the West. Like we had a whole like zombie surge of shows and
Oh god.
books and games and stuff, but they do it in a interesting and refreshing way, and it's really fucking good from beginning to end. How about that?
Yeah. And they're even really good at just adapting things. Alice in Borderland is a fantastic adaptation so far. I've had to stop myself from sitting down and reading the source material because I'm like, I'll accidentally read ahead like how I am with My Hero, and I've tried not to talk to people about it.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely don't want to do that. Um, yeah, I mean it's kind of weird that the West just hasn't seemed to figure it out. And it's because for whatever reason, even though a lot of these shows and movies and things that have sort of been co-opted by these ideological movements haven't they've been struggling and not making as much money as they could. But then instead of, being reflective and just being like, oh, maybe we made a mistake, maybe it's the audience's fault. They blame us.
Yeah, it's like how you brought
Blame
up
the
with
fans.
that tweet. It's like Captain Marvel was too cocky, Black Widow was mediocre, Miss Marvel was too childish. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sensing a pattern, and it's called misogyny. And I responded in the age old, or maybe, just maybe, it's reminding me of a burning pile of garbage that makes me wish I would rather be back at Age of fucking Ultron. Which I don't think anyone understood that when in the group chat when I said that. I hate Age of Ultron with like a burning passion because I used to think that was like the beginning of the end for me. And my god, I didn't realize how much worse it could get. So to prevent us from sort of leaving on a depressed note, uh, we praised the Daniels with everything everywhere all at once. what's some more good stuff that's been released this year? I'm asking you because you kind of keep a more active finger on the pulse than I do on this stuff. Oh, oh. I found out I've been talking to myself for for a good second here. He'll be right back. That's in terms of just stuff from the past like year or so. I praised Nobody. I think Nobody was really good. I don't know what they could do with a sequel. I don't want them to. I just don't want them to do it. Period. But that's because I feel like these are one track stories that should just end. It's like how with John Wick, and even to bring it back even further back, the Matrix. The Matrix is perfect. It's just the one film. Same with John Wick. It's such a nice closed story. You didn't need to tell anymore. And maybe it's also my cynical look of Hollywood. I don't trust them to make a Nobody 2 that is just as good as the first one.
Depends. I mean, depends on how much creative control they give to the people that, made the first one happen. Like, as long as they leave the same people in charge, it's possible that
That
the second one could be good. But I mean,
that's true. Like and even with things like if say in some weird multiverse shit they did bring the writer for Daredevil onto She-Hulk, that probably would be a fantastic episode.
well, but the problem that I have with that, and this is one of the reasons I've never understood with like TV shows where they have like multiple writers, or like they'll have one person write one episode and then a totally different person will write the next one. That just makes your episodes really fucking inconsistent. Because then it's like, oh, why was episode 6 like super high fucking quality and all the other episodes suck? It's like, oh, well, we had you know, a writer come in from another show and he wrote that episode. And it's like, oh, got it.
Oh, you mean the problem with Mando where they switched directors literally every writer and directors every episode?
Well, I know they do it in a lot of TV shows. Like it's a pretty common thing and has been for a long time, but I just question does it really benefit the overall product? The answer is probably not.
No, yeah, if you do like the Mike Flanagan route where it is for the most part just him and his team, you're gonna for the most part make a good quality product. And that is a promise on my end. This Halloween, I will be finally sitting down and watching all the Mike Flanagan stuff. That's been a long time coming.
When is this happening?
Sooner or later, the deadline's the end of October.
Yeah, but getting through all the,
So that's not too bad. That's hold on.
I
I
mean, that's
mainly
what, 3, 4 shows?
oh fuck, cuz he releases them in October. I'm specifically thinking of just Bly Manor and Hill House, and I completely forgot uh what's the new one? The vampire one.
Oh, fuck, Midnight something?
Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten Midnight Mass even fucking existed.
Yeah, I heard really bad things, so.
I've heard it from. I mainly skipped when EFAP talked about it for just a tiny bit, but then they'd mention it every once in a while. They said it doesn't stick the landing.
No, it doesn't. But hey, I mean, they can't all be bangers, right?
Right. So to now that you've been back for a minute, what a you have a more active finger on the pulse of what's being released. What good things have come out this year?
Um, Genuinely good things from this year. Movie wise, you had The Northman was pretty good. It had some issues. I really liked Everything Everywhere All at Once was a big one. Like that's probably my favorite of this year.
That might be my favorite of all time, actually. That actually finally booted Empire Strikes Back out of its spot.
Um, Stranger Things season 4 was a good return to form for that series. Um, Top Gun Maverick
Still need to see
came
that.
out. It's fucking fun. It's on streaming now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we might just sit down and watch both of them in a row because I it's been so long since I've seen the original.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt to do a refresher on that. It still holds up well as well. So my coworker recently did he bought like the Blu-ray of both, just to be
Hmm.
like just to watch it.
I came across a weird I don't know what movie it's in, but Quentin Tarantino breaks down Top Gun, talking about it's a struggle, a man struggling with his homosexuality, and I was, I was very confused, but I think it was just because I think Quentin was just doing like a joke breakdown of it.
Well, most people take a pot shot at the volleyball scene, and in that it's like one of the most homoerotic, uh, you know, films or scenes in a what is fairly a macho like man's man kind of movie.
Right.
It feels really out of place because most dudes don't specifically talk about that scene a lot, but most people who aren't super familiar with the movie would be like, what about that? Like, what's going on here?
Nothing. The Shut up.
I mean, that's kind of the energy that it gives off. Yeah.
What else came out? You mentioned The Northman. I really enjoyed it. I saw that while River was watching Multiverse of Madness, and I feel like I chose the better movie.
Um, I mean, I had my issues with the Northman, but overall, I think it was better than most, I really
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm just kind of looking over a list of like things that have come out this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of here
Um,
that I haven't seen. I pulled up a list as well.
God, Morbius was 2022? Fuck me. For some
It-
reason, I thought that was 2021.
no, I feel exhausted for the fact that we're halfway through 2022. It feels like just a couple
The
days ago.
Batman came out. Sonic 2 was good. I had a good time with Sonic 2.
I really wanted to see Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but my theater only showed it like
Eh,
once.
yeah, I didn't really care that much about that one. Um, I mean, Prey was like better than I expected, but I wouldn't say it was like good. Um, there was actually two Channing Tatum movies that came out this year that were pretty good.
Yeah, I heard Dog was really good.
Dog was really good. The Lost City was pretty good. Um, just kind of looking through some of the other ones that came out this year. God,
Was
it
Moonfall any
just,
good?
I didn't see it. The trailers look like shit though, so I didn't really have a strong desire to see it, honestly.
That's fair. Oh god, Men came out already?
Hmm.
I heard nothing about it. I saw the trailer.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and then didn't hear like anything about the movie, and I just kind of assumed that that meant it wasn't worth the time. You know what I mean? Like when you literally hear nothing good or bad about a movie, that just means nobody went and fucking saw it, and nobody went and fucking talked about it.
Yeah. You saw Elvis, didn't you?
No, I wanted to, but I ended up giving away my. I had that AMC Unlimited whatever thing, and I ended
Mm-hmm.
up getting rid of that before Elvis came out. So I still need to see that. I'm planning on, I think it's going to be on like DVD in September.
I
So
think
I'm
it might
planning on renting it from Gamefly.
I think it might already be out on streaming.
Well, it's probably out on streaming. Since I do physical rentals like an Oldman, I have to wait until its actual release date, you know?
So how were
So
the dinosaurs while they were still walking around?
listen, I was around during the days when there was Blockbuster and Hollywood Video was still a fucking thing, okay?
I love
That
how
was like Blockbuster for poor people.
it was. I had both. I love the fact that that's the funniest thing about being an in-betweener. I saw Blockbuster in like the final decades that they were alive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an experience that I miss. I can understand why people make that pilgrimage to where is it, Oregon,
Oh,
something like that.
oh yeah, Oregon or
Um,
Alaska, the pretty much the
yeah,
last one.
yeah, the last Blockbuster.
I've heard they still have an active rotation.
Yeah, they still have active movies, like current movies and shit. It's crazy.
Um,
Um,
Uncharted came out, but that
I haven't watched that one yet.
it's on
I put it on
Netflix.
my like, yeah, it's on Netflix, but I've heard so many bad things about it that I'm kind of like, I'm not in any particular rush to
Same.
check it out. You know, it's like even though it's
It's
like literally free now,
yeah, and
it's like, do I really want to give that 90 minutes to 2 hours of my life when I could be doing literally anything else?
yeah, especially considering every time I boot up my PS4 to turn on Netflix or Hulu, I just see advertising for the Uncharted movie, and I'm just like, nah.
Well, it's like I'd rather play a game. I'd rather, do something that's not going to make me feel like I've wasted my fucking time. There are so many things that I haven't watched that I really have been enjoying. Um, I've been watching an anime on Netflix. It's not super deep. It's not super complicated. It's the plot is like paper thin. Hell, even the characters are pretty much paper fucking thin. But you know what? It's fucking entertaining. That's it. It's
Is
literally mindless entertainment.
is this that anime you showed me like a couple months ago with the electro powers?
No, no, that one actually has complex things going on. No, this one is literally just called Bastard. And it is basically advertised as like a, you know, 80s rock, fantasy, like, those old rock album covers.
Okay.
Like it's like that with an anime that's like borderline, like it pushes the bounds of not being hentai as far as you can fucking go.
Let me take a look at this. If this drags the Warhammer Fantasy fan out of me, then I have no choice but to watch this. It's just called Bastard.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But here's the thing. It's literally just that it's entertaining. Like I don't have to pay attention. I don't have to remember people's names. It's not that deep. I promise you.
Well, the
It's just,
first.
do you like looking at pretty girls? Do you like seeing cool visual effects when he uses spells? Like, can I tell you how the magic system works? Fuck no, I can't. But it looks cool.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion when you said that it's almost a borderline hentai. I, of course, can't show our lovely audience, but this was one in the first row of images.
Oh, yeah, dude, like I kid you not. It is literally like as it pushes that envelope as far as you can possibly go without crossing the line.
Yeah, without fully committing to it.
Oh my God, yeah, it's fucking amazing. And it's just it's one of those where it's like I kept wondering, I'm like, well, maybe there's gonna be some characters or some plot sometime. No, no. But the visuals are cool for the fights, even if the fights are usually pretty quick. The girls are pretty. They're pretty. There's lots of eye candy, and the music hits fucking hard. That's
It
all I
looks
can say.
it looks like it's almost a Hunter x Hunter type situation where this is
Do
almost
not even know.
no,
No.
sorry. No, I'm talking about to finish the sentence. The old like an older anime that then got a like a revamp because I'm seeing images of an older anime of the same title.
I mean, that's possible. I don't remember there being an old one, but it's
Yeah, apparently in '92. Here's a image from it. No, that's what I was saying by the Hunter x Hunter treatment of because Hunter x Hunter got there's the older anime, then there's the newer one.
yeah. I had literally never heard of it. But it was I like I said, I just saw it. I was like, oh, I saw like one of those trailers for it. I was like, oh, I'll check it out. And it's just I've just been having fun, like mindless, stupid fun. And it's been a while since I've been able to do that with a show.
Mm-hmm.
And I know normally when we say things like, oh, you need to turn your brain off, it's like we say that as a bad thing. But I'm telling you, like in the best way, it's mindless, entertaining fun.
Yeah,
Like I said, I don't know the characters' names, don't care. The plot is barely fucking there. Like just absolutely skeletal thin. Like it is purely just let's blow shit up with cool looking magic
well,
spells and
yeah.
have a bunch of half naked chicks. And
Well,
it's like, okay, cool, I'm down.
so the thing about that, uh, excuse me, that phrase of just turn your brain off. They always say that about something that tries to be like high quality writing. They never say it about things like this, where it's clearly just. It looks like it's a bunch of fan service and fights and, as you said, a
Oh,
killer
absolutely.
soundtrack. So
It's
it's
it that is 100% what it is. It's fan service for days. It's cool fight, spell sequences like but is it like Hunter x Hunter where I learned them and clue how this works? Not at all.
yeah,
Don't know how it works. Doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. Don't care. It's just entertaining.
yeah. It's junk food TV as opposed to the MCU, which tries to be high art.
But in a way, I would take that over the MCU shit because at least this knows what it is and stays in its fucking lane and
Yeah,
doesn't try to be something it's not. And it's not trying to like preach at me while it does it.
yeah.
It's
It's like
literally just like, no, we know why we know what fucking spades. It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay, sign me the fuck up.
and and it seems to be achieving a sense of fun because it sounds like it knows, yeah, as you said, it knows what it's trying to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
100%. Like it knows that it's not high art like by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't care. It's like no, I'm the cool badass. Like that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to be cool. I'm here to be edgy and sexy and stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, no, we got it. We appreciate it. You're
yeah,
killing it.
and you and me could probably tear it apart for days, but at the end of the day, I bet both of
I
us would
don't
still be
want
like,
to. I don't like I don't even want to sit there and critique it because it's like I know that the characters are shit. I know that the plot is shit. I don't care because I'm having so much fun.
yeah, they're
Like it's just a good time. That's all it is. It's like I'm having fun. it's being entertaining. I'm entertained by it. It I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Like that's
because
it.
that's the thing. There's fun bad, and then there's boring or just bad. Men in Black
Yeah.
2 is fun bad because it's just watch Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones continue to do their thing, and it's like, all right, I will. Uh, and but then you watch something. You watch something like The Witcher episode 1, and it's like, oh, just don't you want to watch Geralt kill shit? And I'm like, but what's this fucking story about this girl going on right now, or this fucking war? What are you doing? I'm getting distracted from Geralt killing things. Everybody needs their
Yeah.
one. Everybody needs an escape media. That's why I watch Wild Wild West. I know it is god awful, but I just want to watch Will Smith be Will Smith. I think that's why. I think that's why like guilty pleasures. I fucking love Batman and Robin. It is awful.
I just feel like if you want to like have a movie where you're watching Will Smith be Will Smith, there are other better movies to choose from.
The first Men in Black is a great example of that. It's both good.
Like Wild Wild West is just
I think
like
it's
at least Men in Black has like some redeeming moments. Like there's some really good scenes in an otherwise like storyline. But like Wild Wild West, I don't really remember anything from that being like
What do you mean
redeemable.
you
You know
don't
what I mean?
remember? You don't remember the mechanical spider? How cool was that?
No, I remember the mechanical spider. I said it being redeemable. Like that was trash. Okay. Although I think I don't remember what restaurant it was. It might have been Burger King. It might have been McDonald's. But I'm pretty sure there were Wild Wild West toys. And I remember getting the
Oh my
giant
god.
spider before I actually saw the movie and thinking this cool shit. I was like, dude, I got this cool mechanical spider. And then I saw the movie and I was like, oh. And I think that toy pretty much hit the bottom of my toy box and never came out again.
Uh, me. Meanwhile, I think even as a kid watching the mechanical spider, I think just part of my brain just broke. It's just like, oh, there's jumping the shark. Then there's what it does, where a mechanical spider literally just blows up 3 canyons, and it's like, oh, it's trapped. It'll never get past those rocks. Blows them up, and then you just see Will Smith just turn to look at Gordon.
Yeah.
It's broken, and I feel like every time I watch it, I am losing brain cells.
A little bit, yeah. It's
Maybe if I lose enough, my autism will go away.
no, the predators are the only thing that can make your autism go away.
Oh no.
They have to steal your autism to survive global warming because that makes sense.
God damn it. Has it ever been acknowledged that the Predator just isn't canon anymore? Or is Prey somehow still
No,
existing with that
I
movie?
think the only two things that have been basically removed from the canon or considered a separate canon, I think is the term, is AVP and AVP Requiem. Everything else in the franchise is considered canon.
That's really
So
bad
do with
because
that what you will. Yeah.
because we've got movies with conflicting stuff.
They don't care.
Oh, this was fun. I think with that, we're gonna call it a
Call it
night.
a night.
Yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and we really hope you guys are enjoying D&D. This has been a new thing for all of us.
Indeed, it has been many moons since I have had a campaign that lasted more than like one session, so been enjoying that.
All right,
I think you guys are going to be very excited to see Max's surprise for next session. So
he's
everybody tune in for next session. I'm telling you.
yeah. I won't get into spoilers. He's told me some stuff, but he hasn't told me everything.
I
So
know everything.
yeah, well, if you have to, he literally he just goes. beeping noise, and you're just like, oh man, like how could I say no to this? I'm only the DM.